Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Genetic Genius podcast. And I'm so thrilled to have my wonderful and fabulous guest today who knows everything about the gut, Dr. Loredana Shapson. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me today. Happy to be here.
You're welcome. I can't wait to talk to you today about everything about the gut. As our listeners know, I love to talk about the gut, hormones, genetics, because it's a huge part of our health. The gut is everything, right?
Oh, 100%. I talk about poop all day long and my patient's so uncomfortable at first. I'm like, nope, get used
right.
to this.
Poop is number one, not number two.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we dive deep into talking about poop, I would love for you to just introduce yourself to our listeners and tell it a little bit about your background, what kind of makes you tick, your purpose, your passion in life.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Dr. Loredana. I'm from Pennsylvania, born and raised in Philadelphia. I started out my career as a pharmacist. So I went through that traditional kind of healthcare path and I just saw some really unhealthy patterns, I guess, in pharmacy school and as I worked as a pharmacist. So I was in that field for about 12 years. And so it just, for lack of a better word, it was like disgusting how many prescriptions people were on. We're talking 8, 9, 10, 11 different things. And then another disturbing thing I was finding was that they would come up with a prescription and say, oh, my doctor doesn't really know what's going on. And here they're just trying this, they're trying that. So that was another frustrating thing because these people become your family and your friends. They come to the pharmacy a couple times a week if the whole family's got scripts.
That's right.
And then another disturbing thing I saw was that they were younger and younger. Unfortunately, I just saw a really unhealthy pattern of lots of medications, a lot of frustration, and still no answers. So that's kind of where I ended up. And then I had my own health challenges as well, not getting answered by the medical community. I had my own gut health problems that I went through several doctors for. I had high blood pressure. I had a couple mold exposures, and just going through those experiences and not getting the help that I needed was frustrating and drove me to do exactly what you're doing with your business, is empowering people with information and understanding the body on a more holistic level, that we need to look at everything. Everything counts towards our health. And doing the work that I do, I'm getting people off of medications now. So as a pharmacist, I never thought I would say that. That's
exactly.
what makes me tick.
Yes, I love that. And it's so true. I see, and I'm sure that many of, we have some practitioners tuning in today, have the same patients come into their office where they're on this like whole stream of supplements and or pharmaceuticals. At least the supplements aren't quite as damaging, but them can be sometimes if they have supplement overload. But yes, I totally agree. We see a lot of, it's common, I would say, in my chronic disease patients, like 10 plus pharmaceuticals, easy. And then they're not on, usually like on as many supplements because their current providers just don't know. And so they don't know, they're not trained, which is great. I'm glad they're not making recommendations they're not trained in. But yeah, so getting patients off of pharmaceuticals can be a little bit of a challenge. And so when we're educated, it really empowers our patients to learn about their health. Okay, why are you even on this supplement? Or why are you even on this pharmaceutical? Why? Why? Right? A lot of times they have
it's
no
amazing.
clue.
Some people can't even answer that. They're like, I don't know. My doctor just said to take it.
I'm like, okay, let's talk about you being in charge of your health and learning about what the pharmaceutical or supplement does for your body, because it helps your body use it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I think I don't want to poo medicine. I think that there's a space for prescriptions. Like I break my leg, please take me to the hospital.
Exactly. Emergency medicine, we need it.
Certain chronic conditions that they're not looking at the root cause and really understanding how to reverse disease. It's just masking it. So those are the conditions that I like to work on.
Me too, right? We've become the true health detectives.
Yes, it's true.
Totally. As we are going to dive deep into the gut today, I'd love for you to first, if we could start out just talking about how dealing with the gut can be overwhelming, because I think that there's so many different feelings physically and emotionally that you can get from a gut disorder or dysbiosis. So what are some of the first signs maybe that our listeners could be tuning into and saying, yeah, maybe I do have something going on with my gut, and then maybe follow up with what are some of those basic steps they should take on that next path?
Yeah, great question. First off, one thing is your stomach tells you everything. So if you eat something and you have a belly ache, right? Something's going on. There's other things like the acid reflux, a lot of
Mm,
burping or belching, even a lot of gas. And another thing to think about is even smelly gas. So it means that you're not breaking down your food as well. And it's almost, for lack of a better word, putrefying in your belly. It's just sitting for
right.
too long and it's not breaking down properly. So though, and obviously constipation. So we want to be moving our bowels 1, 2, 3 times a day at minimum. So anything less than that is considered constipation. And then obviously watery stools like diarrhea is another indicator. Now, these are the obvious signs, right? But gut health can also have some not so obvious signs, right? Not related to the gut. And this could
Hmm.
be other things like allergies and asthma, fatigue, things like autoimmune conditions and pain conditions are all really related to this, including depression and mood, irritability, anxiety. The gut, when we really think about the gut, every single cell that makes up every tissue and every organ relies on your digestive system to break down nutrients so we can all function properly. So
Mm,
that's why for a lot of people, their gut problems could lead to pain, but for somebody else, it may lead to heart issues or diabetes. It's your family history then that can really indicate where you're more likely to head towards based on your gut stuff and other things. When you fix the gut, you fix almost everything. That's what
mhm.
I've noticed in my practice. What do you see
So
in your
true.
practice? Do you have a lot of patients with some gut issues?
Oh, totally. I would say maybe at least 50% because hormones and genetics is my kind of like jam. But I work
Mm-hmm.
within that. I work a lot with gut health because it's all connected, right? So most of the time I'm always looking at the gut. So I'll do specific lab work. A hormone panel and a GI map are the basics of every patient that comes in because I want to see those two things. If they're coming in with hormone problems, I want to see what hormones are out of balance and then what's going on with the gut because hormones, estrogen, those are being made and metabolized in the gut, and it's all connected, right? If the gut's out of balance, we're not going to be able to even digest and assimilate all those great supplements I'm going to recommend.
Yeah, exactly. I tell people if your gut's not working, you could take the most expensive supplements and you are not absorbing it properly.
It's right. You're peeing them right out into the universe. Right?
Yeah.
So, yes,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, definitely. And I think more people are becoming aware of the gut hormone connection, the gut brain connection. You
Mhm.
mentioned some other organs too. I think it's that it's all about too, like tuning in to your own awareness. And you mentioned in the beginning, like, what are some of those signs and symptoms your body's telling you? And I think that's where people are just, they're so tuned out of their body. So bringing them back even to just a little bit of body awareness, be like, okay, let's just keep a little poop journal. Do you do that with your patients? I'm sure you have them to keep a poop journal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They keep a food log with me. They rate their bloating from 1 to 10 and all the issues that they're suffering from. You have to track. That's the only way to really
Mm-hmm.
understand, are you getting better or not? And you're right. The body awareness, some people just, they think this stuff is normal. So they
Mm-hmm.
just dismiss it. Oh, that's normal for me. Oh, like you're not supposed to have those issues all the time, every day, or as
Right.
frequently as they think.
Yeah, it becomes their new normal, especially if they've had
Yeah.
like constipation since they were a child. They just think, oh, I only go to the bathroom once a week. I'm like, I try not to
Yeah.
have this horror like on my face, but
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm like
what?
having heart palpitations for them once a week. Oh
I
my
know once a
gosh.
week.
Poop is
That's
toxic. It's
it's so
got to come
toxic.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That I think when they're learning about things. So what do you see in your practice of patients that have had something like, well, I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about constipation today, but let's say someone comes to see you and they've had this history of constipation, like from childhood, which I see commonly in my practice. Where do you begin to help them to even realign with one knowledge of their body? And then what steps? I'm sure there's a lot, but maybe a couple.
Yeah, so let's do a couple steps here. So
Right.
one is when you're constipated, there's a couple things that's happening. So one, you may not be making enough digestive enzymes. So you may not be breaking down your food properly, so it's sitting for longer than it should, or it's not getting broken down, so there's some stagnation there. And then because of that stagnation and poop just sitting in your bowels, what that ends up causing is a gut imbalance. It's a breeding ground for microbes to make a home that maybe shouldn't be there. So you've got a couple of things going on. And then on top of that, you have irritation to the gut lining. The poop is just sticking to the outer membrane. And so now you're having irritation, malabsorption. There's so much going on. So
Mhm.
first things first is when I first start with the patient with constipation, I give them digestive enzymes, one with betaine HCl, which gives you
Mhm.
acidity. That's number one, because that'll really affect the enzyme release as well later down the road. And
Mhm.
then sometimes I'll add an additional pancreatic enzyme supplement if they're experiencing extreme amounts of bloating, if they can't tolerate that. The next thing I do is we make sure that they're eating all cooked foods. As unfortunately, raw foods are hard to digest. So we need to make it a little bit easier for their digestive system.
Right.
The third thing I'll usually do is actually give them something to stimulate their bowels. I have a really complex supplement that has multiple things in it, like psyllium husk fiber, apple pectin, flaxseed fiber. It has some cascara, sagrada, which is a stimulant laxative, a little bit of senna, but not too much. And we use that in the short term because we got to get that out. We got to get the poop moving.
Get things moving.
And it's just a temporary solution for right now. And then eventually what we need to do to really correct the underlying issue is get probiotics on board. But I'm glad you're bringing this up, because what I want to touch on with constipation and probiotics is that when we look at the clinical research, there was a study done. They followed constipation patients, and the one group took probiotics and the other group did not. Okay. And they followed them over a course of a few months, and they found that constipation didn't even start to budge until month 2 of a probiotic. And they saw greater benefits when they were on it for 3 months. So why I want to share this with your listeners is because I often hear, oh, I started a probiotic for a month or 2, a couple of weeks, and it didn't really do anything. And what we're finding in research is you didn't give it enough time.
Yeah.
Definitely start a probiotic one with, are you familiar with some of the strains, the lactobacillus and the bacterium? They are the ones that have the most clinical research studied to it, but those are the best blended products to use. And again, consistency is key. Once a day, and just stay with it for at least 3 months is what I tell all my patients before you can really assess whether or not it's helping you or not.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And then I want to share some like other tips that I have for constipation too.
Yes, I love tips.
The squatty potty. I think that's really underestimated.
Yeah,
Do you like the squatty potty?
Yes. We have one in my house, of course. Yeah, it's great. And I love their marketing. It always makes you laugh. If you don't know it, you can look it up later.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a positional thing. And if you don't have a squatty potty, you don't have to buy a fancy one. Use your trash can, use your toilet bowl brush. And the idea is that your knees just need to be above your hips. The higher, the better. You just lean forward a little bit, relax your belly, and that just will help the bowels smooth out a little bit more. And another thing is walking. People don't underestimate the value of walking every day. It just stimulates the motility of the muscles within the GI tract. So go for a walk.
It doesn't have to be that complicated. Yeah. Those are great tips. I love those and things I recommend with my patients and listeners. I'm so glad that you got those tips today, because constipation is a huge aspect of gut health and helping your body to detox and feel better. So those were great. And I love that we're talking about the aspect of probiotics, because I really wanted us to talk more about that today too. And so let's talk about, a lot of people think that they're kind of like the gut superheroes, right? Or the gut health superheroes as they come in. And you were mentioning the clinical research. So I'd love for us to talk about, so you mentioned the strains, and I think that's a place that people don't always understand it. And we don't have to go like really complicated, but maybe some of the basic probiotic strains, and maybe a little bit of dosing, like maybe like best time of day, with food, without food. Cause I think that's where it's hazy for people. And then length of time. You mentioned that for a little bit, which was great. So if you could touch base on strain, dosage, and length, I'd love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 3 types of probiotics out there. The first type is a spore-based probiotic, and the species name, if you were to look it up on the little ingredients label, it's Bacillus. There's a lot of different Bacillus species. So that's the first probiotic that I usually start all of my patients on because they're the most well-tolerated. The next is the what I abbreviate the lacto bifido blends. You can find anywhere from 10 to 12 to 13 different strains, or even more than that in some of these blended products. But that's the most studied of the 3 that we're going to discuss today. And the third one is called Saccharomyces boulardii, which is actually a probiotic yeast or a fungus. So it's actually a good fungus that we like to see in our gut. I typically start with the first 2, definitely the spore-based first, because a lot of people have allergies or histamine reactions, rashes and hives and things like that. There are certain lactobacillus strains that can release histamine. And so sometimes when people start a probiotic, they end up feeling worse. And I always tell my patients, don't shy away from that. That just tells me more about your gut health picture, is that we really need to not start with this probiotic. Let's start with the spore base first. Let's do that for a month, and then we'll jump into the lactobacillus. This is also the reason why some people can't really tolerate fermented foods. They feel worse when they eat fermented foods. This is again, that same story of histamine is the issue here. So just a little tidbit there. Now, when it comes to dosing, what we're finding in clinical research, they range from 10 billion in the clinical studies all the way up to 100 billion. But what we're finding is it doesn't have to be that much. So when it comes to the lactobacillus strains, maybe you'll do 25 billion, 50 billion is the most I ever do in my office, because I find that the higher that I go, the more side effects, or I don't want to say side effects, more reactions we get from that over fifth. And then the bacillus species, though, that spore-based probiotic, that one only has to go to 3 or 4 billion. That's actually really low. You don't need that much. And the same thing with the Saccharomyces boulardii, it's only 250. So it goes by milligrams on that one. So don't get overwhelmed by the billions or what. Just pick one. And I want you to take it once a day. And also clinical research, with or without food, we're not really seeing anything in clinical research indicating. So just take it once a day. It doesn't have to be complicated. If it means with food, go for it. Without food, go for it. Because at the end of the day, all that matters is that you're getting it into your body every single day. We've made gut health very confusing and very scary for a lot of people, and it doesn't have to be that way. So just keep it once simple. A day, pick one, stick with it for at least 3 months minimum every single day. And then I would say that some of the clinical research out there, especially for skin conditions, there was a study done in children with eczema that they found that at 6 months, they had even more benefit with skin health at the 6-month mark than they did at the 3-month mark. So we're finding the longer that you're on it, also better.
Right. Yeah.
That's my 1, 2, 3 of probiotics.
That's great. I love it. Really great information. And what do you think about taking probiotics before bed? Sometimes I'll recommend with patients that, especially if they have a lot of the gut brain axis, not deficiencies, but disorders or problems in that area. Sometimes I'll recommend they take it before bed because it really helps their body in that resting and digesting phase. What do you think about taking them at night?
Yeah, I support them at night. I think that for those exact reasons you talked about, like it can stabilize some of the stuff that's going on with the brain. That's when we're healing and we're repairing and all the detoxification is occurring. So at that time of the day, you are going to be introducing those supporters into the system. So I support that. But like I said, for some people, they forget to take it before bed. And so if it becomes an issue of forgetting, I don't care. Just take it.
Just take it. Yes, exactly. I know. So someone needs to come out with a really great reminder system, because people they put it on their phone, they don't even remember. Maybe when I have my app, I'll have that, like some like really fun thing. Don't forget, I love you. Take your probiotic. Yeah, ding.
Yeah.
Like a little fairy sound or something.
Yeah.
Oh, so what conditions then, if we're talking about using the probiotics, what specific conditions, like there's so many different things that go on the gut. Are there some things that you're like, oh yeah, hands down, use a probiotic? Is it everything that you should use a probiotic? Or are there some conditions you're like, yeah, we don't want to start there?
Yeah. So honestly, right now, the clinical research is supporting that you can use, here's my number one. Absolutely. If you suffer from IBS symptoms, which would be your gas, bloating, diarrhea, acid reflux, constipation, abdominal pain, and especially if you're taking an antibiotic from the doctor, use a probiotic. It is going to help repair that imbalance that is there. And that's the reason why you're having those gut symptoms, is because of that imbalance that occurred. We see really good research in IBD, which is irritable bowel disease. These are things like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. We're starting to get a lot of research around depression and anxiety. And then one thing I do want to point out, which this is a little bit of a controversy for some practitioners, is gut imbalance, and specifically one called SIBO. So SIBO?
Yes.
So small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. There's a myth out there that you shouldn't use probiotics with SIBO. But we have meta-analysis and systemic reviews that are really high level of evidence that really dictates how we proceed with our patients, that show that you can use probiotics in SIBO patients. In fact, Saccharomyces boulardii is a really great one that has been shown to reduce that bloating and abdominal pain and cramping in the GI tract. So really good support there. And then there's a lot of data too around respiratory infections, women's vaginal infections, yeast infections, urinary tract. We have things in hormonal health, things like PCOS and endometriosis, and then allergies as well. So those are the ones that I think are phenomenal. Now, we still need more data on things like sleep. There's some data showing that it helps with like lab health. So like your cholesterol levels, your blood sugar levels, your insulin resistance. We still need more data, but there's good evidence so far. And things also like autoimmune conditions. So we're still getting some more data on those other things, but it's really promising that I think that probiotics can really help everything in the body.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that was great. I love how you mentioned a lot of those conditions there, because I think that really helps our listeners to understand the extent that probiotics can reach, right? Because they do have a large
Yes.
reach across or gut health in general. And what's the difference between prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics? Those, because I think people
Yes.
also get confused there. They're like, why are there three things?
Exactly. So prebiotics are the food for your bacteria in your gut. Probiotics are the actual organisms. And so these are things that are going to feed the gut in a good way. And I do want to make a comment though, that for people who have IBS or IBD or Crohn's and different conditions like that, prebiotics are not showing a lot of benefit initially when you're starting your gut healing journey. In fact, we actually find that sometimes adding more prebiotics and fiber to your diet can make things worse in the short
Right.
term.
Yeah.
So I don't start prebiotics on patients in the very beginning. And so we don't bring that in until well into when the second probiotic is on board, like 2 or 3 months in, because that's when the body can tolerate those types of things. So
yeah, that makes total sense. And go ahead.
Yep. So that was the one comment I wanted to make, because a lot of people jump right to fiber, and we just need to be cautious in the beginning that we don't do that right away, for sure.
Yes. So that's the prebiotic, and that's feeding the amazing probiotic in our gut. And then what about what is the postbiotic?
So postbiotic, I actually have to look that one up. I'm actually drawing a blank right now on what the
Oh,
post.
no,
So do
no,
you want
that's
to come in
great.
with the post?
Right, totally. What I know about postbiotics is that they're a way we've done the repopulation of the good bacteria, and postbiotics is the stage of, I almost think of it as a like the die-off stage, where the bad bacteria is leaving the gut stream. That's how I've learned about postbiotics, but maybe I'm wrong about that. What
Yeah.
what did you find out?
No, so that's the only thing that I really knew about it too. Is post is just basically the die off. It just mops
Right.
things up. It gets rid of what's being released in the body.
Yeah, and that's a great question too, is when we're releasing or when patients are releasing this bacteria die off, the bad bacteria, what are some things that they might be feeling? They're like, as you mentioned, that sometimes you might feel a little bit worse. Is that from the like postbiotic die off?
Yeah, essentially it is the die off reaction. So when they basically, for lack of a better word, die inside of you, they're releasing a lot of trash. And we also have to understand too that microbes like fungus and parasites and bacteria, they bind a lot of chemicals within our body, or heavy metals and things like that. So now when they're dying, they're also releasing these other toxins that they've been, almost for lack of a better word, they're helping us. They're there to support us. They're trying to get rid of that for us. And so this can cause some negative ill reactions. You might feel flu-like, you might feel nauseous, you might have diarrhea all of a sudden when maybe you weren't suffering from that. You could have fatigue and irritability and sleep issues. And so one thing that we do with our patients is we always put them on a particular type of binder supplement. And this must be taken on an empty stomach, 2 hours away from food and other pills, because it's meant to go into the GI tract, mop everything up and bind to it. So it has things like the bentonite clay, the charcoal, the zeolite, bioactive carbons like fulvic acid and humic acid. It'll have pectin or modified citrus pectin, flaxseed meal, psyllium husk. There's so many binders out there, but this is an important part of the process that we can prevent our patients from becoming ill or unwell.
Yeah, that's great. I love how you call it the mopping it up, right? Because that's what we're doing. We're taking this great mop and pulling out all of the stuff that's not serving our body and helping it to just leave the body. That's the constipation piece we talked about earlier, getting things moving.
Absolutely. And pooping is number one. If they're not pooping every day, we're making sure that's happening.
Right. Yes. If you're not doing that out there, you need to make an appointment and find out what is going on. Yeah. One of us needs to help you out here, or seek out a local practitioner that's great with gut health in your area if you need to see someone local. Do you see patients online? Are you mainly telehealth, or how's your practice work?
Yeah, so I see patients in person here in Newtown, Pennsylvania, where I'm located right near Philly. And then I also see patients virtually over Zoom. And the frequency of how we meet, it just really depends on what's going on. But it's generally, we start at 2 weeks, then we go to 3 weeks, then we go to once monthly and just take it from there. But do work virtually and in person.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think that was we were mentioning before we got started that COVID had some benefits. And that's, I think, a really good plus is that the patients
Yes.
learned, and doctors too, about how we can help serve the population from our home or from our remote office or from a beach in Hawaii, like wherever we are.
Yeah, exactly. That's that work-life balance. So we have to be able to
Exactly.
live our lives and still work, right?
Yes.
And then it doesn't feel like work because you're on the beach.
That's right. You're like having fun, and our patients get to see that we enjoy life as much as they do.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yes.
the emotional piece to health is everything as well. We're
Mhm.
talking about the physical things that can really damage the gut, but there's also the emotional part of how we think and the thoughts that we think and the depression and the mood and all of that can really make us sick in and of itself. I love the work that you do, inspiring patients to take charge of their health, because that gives them hope and that gives them inspiration and motivation. And really, that is what we need, is someone to do this together with, because making changes in
Exactly.
lifestyle changes is so hard to do. It just sucks. Like when you're trying to
Right.
eat clean and your partner's not, you need each other. You need to support each other. You don't want to do it
Yeah.
alone.
Oh, totally. Yes. Having someone, and that's a great point too. If you're getting ready to do a cleanse or a big dietary change for your gut, having your partner helping you and being on the same track. Hey, why don't we do this together for 3 months?
Mhm.
I always tell my patients, at least try it for three months, because then you have this whole change in your system, right? The cells are changing, your red blood cells, everything is changing. Make an agreement with your partner. Hey, let's do this for 3 months and I'll take you on a vacation or something like
Yeah,
that, you
exactly.
know?
Some reward at the end.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
reward, because it makes such a difference in your house. You're not tempted. You have the compliance. You can see each other getting better together. And gut health, that should be some kind of
Yeah.
slogan, like the family that has a great gut, I don't know, lives longer or something like
Yeah.
that. I have to
Smiles
think
and
of that
plays
one.
together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's got to be a good one about that one. Um,
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier too, I would love for us to go back and talk about like IBS, IBD, and because I think that's another place that sometimes people get confused with kind of what those terminologies mean, exactly what's going on. Because people think, oh, it's just irritable bowel syndrome, but it's a little bit more like complicated than that. And then what are maybe like two great strategies for managing these? Because I think that this is a place that people just feel lost in how to even, we talk about constipation, but this is a whole nother like level of it.
Yeah, for sure. And IBS is irritable bowel symptoms. So you have the symptoms of an irritable bowel. So that's the gas, the bloating, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, acid reflux, belching, gas. They're the symptoms. You're
Right.
feeling it. Now, when you have IBD, that's irritable bowel disease. So actually, when we go in, say, with a colonoscopy, what we see is actually a diseased colon or
Yeah.
intestine. So we're seeing fissures and ulcers and
Mm.
changes in the structure of the cells. So that is when, those situations, they're a little bit more serious. You may need to see a doctor because you could have bleeding and situations where there's blood in your stool. That would
Mhm.
be an indicator of something more serious, that maybe you should absolutely go check your doctor out if you have any blood in your stool. So now when it comes to the approaches for the healing of these conditions, I think step number one is to add on digestive enzymes, because we
Mm.
know that the bowel is struggling. And this is a short-term fix, but this is going to get rid of the symptoms right away. And the number one supplement, as I mentioned earlier, was the betaine HCl type of a supplement, and some pancreatic enzymes are just really
Yeah.
going to take the stress off the body. Now, another thing that I bring my patients to is a gut healing diet. I'm so
Mhm.
glad we're touching on this, because I find that there doesn't have to be as much restriction as people think there needs to be to heal your gut.
We're
That
not gonna be able
if
to eat
you're bringing,
anything.
yeah, exactly. If you're going to take enzymes, you can tolerate more foods, because they're
Mhm.
there. Your enzymes are there to support you. And so with my patients who are taking enzymes, I'll start them on a paleo diet. And what a paleolithic diet means is there's no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, and no beans,
Yeah,
because these things in their own ways can cause gut irritation. And so we need to
exactly.
eliminate that. So as long as you're taking supplements, the enzymes, you can handle a paleo diet. Now, for someone who doesn't want to take supplements, I do see that sometimes there's a financial thing going on. For a
Mhm.
gut healing diet, I'll put them on a low FODMAP diet. And that's, again, only for 3 or 4 weeks. So because they don't have the enzymes yet to break down all the other nutrients and fiber and vegetables, that we need to be a
Mhm.
little bit more strict. So
Yeah.
in my practice, because of the ease of how to do this, I always add the enzymes, and we always start on a paleo diet, and all vegetables need to be cooked. So it's a lot of soups and stews, a lot of
Mhm.
broths. Maybe we'll do a 24-hour bone broth fast to
Mm.
expedite healing,
Yeah.
because the gut realigns itself every 3 to 5 days. It's
Wow,
like
that's amazing.
miraculous that it does that, right?
Yeah.
So you could see a lot of change in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So know that you only have to do this for a couple of weeks. It's not forever. You shouldn't be avoiding foods forever or be so
Right.
restrictive, because that's going to further your gut imbalance and your gut problems in the long run if you keep avoiding things. Once you get probiotics on and they're on for a couple of weeks, I start to find with my patients that we no longer need, we drop off the enzymes, or we may keep the HCl for a little longer.
Yeah.
And then once we get that second probiotic on, boom, we can drop off the other enzyme. And now the probiotics are the ones doing the work, breaking down our food, repairing our gut lining, making nutrients for us. And so our digestive system is starting to come back online, so to speak.
That's great. Oh, that was a wonderful explanation. And I love how you walked us through those stages, because it's really important to understand the aspects. And when it comes to the healing, it's like the healing stages that I think people, they don't understand. And that we got to touch on the nutrition part, which is so important, because people have
Yes.
such fear about, oh my gosh, I'm going to fix my gut, I'm not going to be able to eat anything. It's going to be like eating like one food for an eternity.
Yeah, no, we can't be avoiding for long. And
No.
that is my mission of being on all these podcasts, is I want to give people the information, because I know when I was going through my own gut health issues, I had bloating. I looked like I was pregnant after drinking water. I had constipation for most of my life. I had gone through functional medicine doctors. I had spent thousands of dollars on stool tests, SIBO tests, breath tests, lab work. I mean, everything. And it didn't change much of the information and how to help myself. It wasn't until I dove into these other details about what causes bloating. So I like to share with you the journey. You can really, I've had patients who literally eat a very limited diet, a few vegetables, a few foods, and then up to 3 months later, now they're expanding their whole entire diet and eating everything and anything that they want. Know that if you're struggling out there, there is hope. It is easier than you think. It doesn't have to cost you thousands of dollars, and you can get out of it.
That's true. That's so true. And I love what you said too, that the expansion, because I think a lot of people think that the only way they can get better is to limit and restrict. And when we do that long term, like you mentioned too, we can develop these other food sensitivities, because our body doesn't then eat those foods. Unless you have an extreme allergy, maybe an anaphylactic type of allergy, then that may maybe have to go deeper there with some longer term gut healing. Do you do is this part of your practice where you do an elimination of some foods and then reintroduce them and see if someone might still be having sensitivities, like a food allergy testing that would see that? What are your thoughts about that particular style?
Yeah, so I often remove the major allergens that people suffer from. So that's the gluten, the dairy. I always get rid of sugar in the beginning as well. So that's where the paleo diet comes in, because it handles a lot of that. Yeah, sugar is always the feeding. Yeah, and then eventually once they've been off things for a while, and we do we reintroduce dairy, they'll say, "Oh wow, like when I brought that back in, my stomach really hurt." And I didn't know that before, because maybe they were eating it all the time. Their body was too tired to even tell them anymore.
Yes.
Or they were eating it all the time. They didn't know what was causing it. So that's what the benefit of the elimination diet is. You have time without. And then when you reintroduce it, you can really tap into what drives those issues. Now, another thing I do in my office is muscle testing. Are you familiar with muscle testing?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
I was just going to ask you all about that. So, yay! Let's go dive into it.
Yeah. So I do muscle testing in my office. And so this is from the science of applied kinesiology. It was taught by chiropractors, and that's most often the professional career that you'll see them in, or see it being used, is at your chiropractor's office. But I have found that it's been expanding to people like me, who is not a chiropractor.
Yeah.
What muscle testing is basically, when I put things near your body's going to make an assessment whether I like it or not. Is this for me or not for me? And why we're able to do that is because we have an energy field that comes around our body like a big bubble. They've called it the biofield in scientific research. And so this is an extension of our nervous system. It's constantly collecting information around us and talking to our brain. We can't see it. We know it's there, just like we can't see the oxygen, but we know it's there. Our phones communicating with each other. This field is always there. So when I bring things near the body and I use your muscle as my indicator, does this make you strong or does this make you weak? I can then kind of determine which foods, for example, you need to start removing from first. So I also use my muscle testing technique to help us understand what foods we need to remove and for how long. And I test every visit. Yep, what you're not showing is being bothered by nightshades anymore, which is a family of vegetables. Let's bring those back in, and slowly, and I teach them how to reintroduce it over time. But muscle testing is probably a huge part of my practice. I do it with every patient that I meet with, whether in person or virtually.
Oh, that's great. And how do you do it
Yeah,
virtually? How does that work? Because it's then you don't have the person in front of you,
exactly. So
literally,
it's
but you
hard.
have the visual.
Yeah, I have the visual and I have the energy. So the way that I help people think of this is, have you ever thought of somebody and then maybe later that day or the next day, that person all of a sudden contacts you? Somehow you guys are connected and you're like,
Right.
wow, that's a coincidence. I was just thinking about you yesterday. Our thought is a vibration. We are literally sending that vibration through the universe, which the earth has its own electromagnetic field that we are all inside of. And so
Mhm.
it's subconsciously getting to that person and somebody reaches out first. So
Yes.
why I'm bringing this up is because we are connected at any point in time, all of the time. And so when we set the intention that I'm connected to you right now, I could muscle test you, but instead I use my own muscle on my end, check
Right.
your energy field. So it's
Yes.
distant healing that way, but we are always connected all of the time.
That's right. Oh, thanks for that great explanation. And behind you, for those of you that are watching the YouTube, those are your muscle testing kits, right? Back there.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
fabulous.
And so I have even more things over here. So I almost have 12 of these cases here. But like in this kit, all these vials has all the heavy metals that exist in the universe, and well, not all of them, but most of the most common ones that can be
Yes.
problematic to our health.
Right.
But they contain the digital frequencies of the physical matter. And so when I bring that frequency into your field, your body makes an assessment. Do I like this or not?
Right. Yeah. Muscle testing is wonderful. I was trained in it when I was at Bastyr University where I went to school, and I use it with my practice in different ways. And it's a great way for it also brings again that piece of awareness that we've been talking a lot about today, helping people understand, our patients understand their body gives them clues, right? And then they can start learning how to muscle test things themselves. Okay, great. How am I? Where am I doing today? Is this supplement going to be good for me today in this moment? How's it going to be? And I think that really helps people to be empowered, like we're talking about today, too.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite technique that you like to teach your patients how to muscle test at home?
Sometimes doing where you can do the two fingers together, where you have the
Yeah.
tightness. Yeah, that can be really easy to learn for patients because then and you can practice that technique anywhere, right? And it's easy on the go. You can learn it really easy. So that's a way that I think that patients relate to the easiest. What about you? What's your kind of go-to technique for your patients?
That's the usual one I'll go to, or the sway
Yeah.
test too. If you lean forward, it's a little bit more subtle. There is a touch. You can overpower any of these tests too with strength. So that's
Yes.
what people are, it's not working. I'm like, well, you just need to be you just got to keep practicing.
Right.
Eventually you'll find
Oh.
you're weak. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Go
But yeah, power
subtle.
mount. Yeah.
Yes.
So do you do
Energy
this with all
subtle.
of your clients, or do you do it just periodically when you feel necessary?
Yeah. So with supplements, I don't always do it with them right on the call. Sometimes I do, but when I prescribe something for patients, I muscle test every single thing that I prescribe. So that way, and they always know they can check in with me about something. They'll say, "Hey, Dr. Lulu, I'm starting this new thing, or I'm starting a new supplement, or I want to add this in. Can you check it for me? Or I found this. My friend's taking it." That's always the thing. My friend said this is the best supplement. I'm like, let's check it and see if it's good for
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Because what's good for you might not be good for me.
Exactly. Totally. Or good for your gut.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah. So I test all the supplements that I recommend to patients. And that really helps them to also brings again that piece of awareness about, oh, I'm taking this, my body wants it, my body needs it, my body's in alignment. And then I recheck the same like you do, like you mentioned, at each visit. So with each follow-up visit, rechecking, because I think
Mhm.
your body is changing all the time. You don't need to be on the same supplements for eternity. That is
Yeah,
not a good
exactly.
thing.
Thank you for
No.
making that comment. It is so important. And especially when you're on a healing journey, every
Mm.
tissue is going to turn over at a different rate. On average, it's about 3 or 4 months, but I've already mentioned your gut realigns itself every 3 to 5 days. Your skin is every 40 days. Your liver is anywhere from 6 months up to a year. Your bones are 4 years. Your brain and your nervous system is 7 years. And at any given point in time, when these tissues are turning over, you're going to need a different nutrient. And muscle testing
Exactly.
really cues us into, oh, wow, you don't need the supplement anymore, but look, your body's asking for this. And that's
Yeah.
okay. And that's normal for things to come on and off and doses to go up and down. You just got to change
Hmm.
with your body.
Right. Yes. And changing with your body, listening to your body, and then also maybe not overloading your body. I think that's another thing I like about muscle testing. And I see patients come in and they're like way too many supplements. You just can't do that to your body. I think like some kind of balance. Sometimes we need different areas. And so that can help patients to also not go into supplement overload.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Wonderful. I'd love for us to talk to today about fasting a little bit because I think this is a big piece that is like a hot topic almost, especially with female. I see a lot of female patients in my practice. And how
Yep.
does fasting play a role in gut health? Like people, there's a lot of research that's done that it can help in specific ways for healing the gut in that nighttime phase, like fasting. So what are your thoughts and what do you know about fasting? I'm sure tons.
Oh yeah, I teach all my patients to fast. I think it's a wonderful healing tool, right? The body knows exactly what to do. We just need to get the heck out of the way sometimes and let it do it.
Mhm.
Specifically when it comes to gut health, fasting, why it's wonderful is because you're allowing your digestive system to relax. We don't realize that the digestive system can be a stressful process for the body. It takes almost 400 calories a day just to run all the digestion that it needs to do for the
It's a
day.
lot.
But yeah, and when you think about your basal metabolic rate, so when you don't eat food, you're allowing the body time to actually focus on what's going on in the gut and for cells to repair. In fact, at the sweet spot for gut health repair is at the 24-hour mark. What we found is that I think it was an MIT study that actually revealed this, that at 24 hours, the stem cells in your gut actually increase. So stem cells are baby cells. They're what you need to rejuvenate everything. And so now you're getting major repair at that 24-hour mark. So I do eventually get all my patients to fast 24 hours once per week using water only. If they can, once we get them there is a way to get there. Some people can jump into it, some people can't.
Yes.
But very important. And then so that's where it plays into gut health. But when it comes to women, this is super important because there are certain times of the month women should fast and when they should not fast. And so I have a whole program around fasting like a girl that is basically teaching women how to eat and fast for their hormone production. And using these tools, we can correct PCOS periods that are 37 weeks or longer than that. We can bring it back down to the 31, 30 or 28 day cycle. Very important.
Yeah.
Now, do you use fasting in your office?
I do, of course. And I think it's a great tool, especially I had talked about it too from that same perspective as in getting into that sympathetic phase, right? Letting your body go into that resting and digesting. And also it allows us this opportunity for self-reflection, which I think is really important too. Just like being aware of our environment, allowing us the space for healing in a really busy world. And I think so it allows the gut to heal. It helps the hormones to realign and properly eliminate. It allows that healing of all the reproductive organs and so many other cellular regeneration is the hugest piece, I think, of it, because it really allows the body to regenerate. Like we need to have a break in our go world.
You mentioned something that I want to touch on, which is, something when I fast, there's something that almost happens to me, especially when I get to my longer fast, like 48 hours or 72 hours, where not only do I feel like I'm cleaning my body and I have clarity in my mind and my focus, but I feel like I get more organized in my physical world around me. All of a sudden, I'm cleaning out that closet that I've been avoiding to touch or not handling that project because I kept pushing it off. So I almost feel like I get this drive to clean not only the inside, but also the outside around me. It is a beautiful reset and like reconnection to self and the world, and the reset of dopamine is important. I find that I don't overeat after fasting. My body just says, oh no, I'm good. I don't need any more. Cravings go away. Everything just resets when you do those longer fasts. So I wholeheartedly think that everybody should learn how to fast. And so you got to learn about it. If you don't, come see one of us because we can teach you all about it, especially for women, because they need to know how to do it the right way.
Especially women. And that you made a great point there too, is that I think it's good to have someone guide you through it so that, because there's a lot of information out there, and so that you're doing it in the correct way, a proper way to really support your body. And you mentioned too, some people can't just jump into it. It's not good for you. It can send you into a hormone chaos because your body's in like total fear state, and you need to be supportive and know when the timing is right. Yeah. So thanks for bringing those things up. Super important.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I think that for people who are having hormonal problems or really stressed out or can't sleep, like fasting can make things worse in the beginning. And so you need to get those things in check first before you start fasting.
Your fasting checklist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. So oh my gosh, I've loved our conversation. I could talk to you for hours, I think, but I want to be aware of our time today. So as we're wrapping up, could you give our listeners just what would be the top, like 3 tips that you would recommend people start embarking on today to really bust those belly blues and start moving into this like gut greatness place?
Yeah. So first thing to beat bloat, which is, what I specialize in is beating bloating, and is with all of your meals. If you're in your kitchen right now, you should all have something like this in your cabinet is vinegar. So apple cider
Mm,
vinegar is great. If you don't like that, you can do white vinegar, basically any vinegar that doesn't have sugar in it. So balsamic is out. But if you're having any belly bloating, any acid reflux, any discomfort, that you should be taking a tablespoon of vinegar in about 2 or 3 ounces of water, just like in a small glass, and take that with all of your meat. And that's going
hmm
to help increase the acidity of your gut. And that is going to help reduce the discomfort that you have when you eat food. So you're basically helping your digestive system that way. I think another thing that people can do at home to help your digestive system is in the morning is to really have a warm glass of water, or boil some water, and then you're going to squeeze a half of a lemon in there and drop the lemon in there, take all the
hmm
seeds out. And you want that hot lemon water in the morning. Number one, you're going to hydrate your bowels. Number two, you're drinking a warm liquid, which is very relaxing to the GI tract. And number three, lemon's acidic. So it's going to help stimulate the acidity of your GI tract and keep things moving. That's a huge part of bloating and constipation. Is acidity and dehydration are two big things that you can correct at home doing that. And then if you're not already taking a digestive enzyme, I would consider that right now, and eventually work with someone who can guide you to start on a probiotic appropriately and take it every day. So definitely check that out. I have on my website, if I could share, I have something called the Belly Bloating Fixer Elixir.
Yeah.
So check out my website. It's a big pop-up that comes up. Put your email in and you're going to get the recipe as soon as you enter your email. And this is a drink that I have in the morning that will start to correct your digestive system and the enzyme release that occurs every single day. So you drink that every morning or as often as you need it, and that'll help kind of repair things along the way.
I love that. And tell us your website so that we'll make sure we put it in the show notes, but tell us our website you can download that belly elixir right away.
Yeah. So it's lifemodsolutions.com. So LifeModsolutions.com.
Great.
And so
I
you can
love
check
that.
that out.
Wonderful. And how can people find you on social media and find out all the great stuff you're doing there? Where should they follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on everything's at Life Mod Solutions, so all
Mm-hmm.
together one word. And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and I have a YouTube page where I have a lot of free gut health information, a lot of short videos there that you can all check out. And then go to my webpage, my homepage, and I'm also releasing a 2-week online course about gut health, about how to get rid of your belly bloating forever. You'll feel results within 1 week of starting and eliminate all your symptoms. And then stay tuned. I'm going to have a Fast Like a Girl course coming up soon too. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Those sound great. So yeah, we'll put all of that information in the show notes. So listeners, if you didn't have time to write that down when you're in your car, don't worry, you'll be able to look it up later. And one last thing as we're wrapping up today, if you had an unlimited budget, what would you do right now to make the biggest impact on our planet?
Revamp our food system supply and get rid of the chemicals out of our
Mm,
food.
that's a
That would
great one.
be my mission. Yeah,
Yes, that's
because
such a good
the
one.
problem is that we have such horrible food selections out there. And that's part of the reason we're all sick and unwell, is the chemicals and poor food quality that we have.
I know,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I was at a larger shopping store recently, and I always like to go, and I wish I should like make a secret video, not secret, but then post it later. But of all the stuff that people have in their carts, I just am like my jaw drops. I'm like, oh, if you knew what was in those foods, like as you're shopping and how toxic they are for you, you wouldn't be buying them. And I'm just like always
Exactly.
amazed. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a really great place for us to just, if we could revamp the stores so people don't even have, that stuff's not made.
Exactly. Like it needs to be in its whole food form as possible. It really comes back down to nutrition. That's what we do, is teaching people how to go back
Yeah,
to real food and whole
right.
foods, and less chemicals is number one. No.
Yes, totally. That's a great one. Ding, you totally get that one. Winner. Thank you so much for joining us today. I loved our conversation, talking everything about the belly and the gut health, and I can't wait to share it with our listeners.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed this chat, and we'll catch up with you later.
Yay, thank you.